I'm just noticing right behind you the number of Mexican flags. The American flags, some of them I'm seeing have got graffiti on them. One was upside down. Tell me about that, because that to me seems to be very ill-advised, a bit of activism from the Democrats there, to be desecrating the American flag and proudly flying the flags of other countries.
Not only that, but also offensive to the military, I would have thought,
yes.
as is the case whenever anybody flies an American flag that's upside down. That's certainly the case. But there's all kinds of different flags. You've got the Mexican flag, you've got the American flag, and like you pointed out there, the American flag being upside down. You've got flags that have been blended with the California Republic flag too. And then you've got, all the signs that people are doing, with all kinds of profanities on them. And then what you might not be able to see, or maybe you can, I mean, there's part of it on the wall there out the front of City Hall. There's graffiti, because graffiti is everywhere around this town at the moment. I mean, we've been with the protesters for a few days now, and even during those protests and parades and marches a few days ago, you'd see kids who are masked and they just pull out some cans of spray paint and away they go. They either tag a building or, say the F Trumps or whatever. That kind of graffiti is absolutely everywhere across downtown LA at the moment.
Pete, I want to move on to another topic. We've had this breaking story out of Minnesota where two legislators have been shot, one of them fatally. They were a married couple. What is the latest on this? You've had Melissa Hortman, who was killed, her husband, John Hoffman, I believe, seriously injured. There's a suspect, at this point, just a suspect called Vance Bolter. What do we know about this person? Because I'm understanding that this person also has links to the Democrat governor. Tim Walz sat on a board of some sort with one of his victims, alleged victims. What more do we know about this? Because I'll tell you what, people are making a big deal about the fact that these were Democrats who were shot as an act of political violence, which is inexcusable, but they're saying a little bit less about the person who is alleged to have pulled the trigger and who the FBI now has a $50,000 reward out to find.
Well, I mean, they're still trying to work out a bit more about him, but the details that we've been able to get so far, and just while I'm answering that, there is a loud noise going on here with all of the LAPD cars and sirens that are blazing. We heard some bangs a little earlier before you came to us as well, and they sound similar to the flash grenades that have been used, so maybe police are just trying to move crowds on. Anyway, back to your point there, James. So they're working out a bit more about him. It looks as though he was running a security business, so he would have had fairly easy access to police uniforms, I would have thought. There is also the police car that a lot of people thought was a police car, but it was a security vehicle that was dressed up to be a police car. So, I mean, if somebody like that turns up to your house and wants you to open the door, I guess you would presume that you would open the door thinking that they were an actual police officer. But on Tim Walz, you make a good point there, because there is video that's doing the rounds at the moment of Tim Walz basically saying that Democrats have to get meaner. They've got to get meaner and meaner. And this was only a couple of weeks ago that he said this on a stage while he was campaigning against Trump and Trump's policies. And so, has that whipped up his supporters? A lot of people are pressing him on that now, thinking that, well, maybe he did.
And Pete, we also have learned that one of the two voted against a provision to allow the continuation of health care to illegal immigrants in Minnesota. I think we have a little bit of that. Can we have a look at that? We don't have that grab. Oh, we do. So just have a look at this here, Pete.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
So that was one of the two victims here talking about this this provision that they voted against, giving health care to illegals. She looked quite sort of very upset and shaken about that vote. And I'm just wondering, given that there's been also some talk that the shooter had some No Kings material with him and so on, that this could be, we don't know yet, but something that may be coming from a more radical faction of the left. We don't know yet, obviously, and it's all alleged and it all has to be investigated. But what do you know, Pete?
Well, I mean, I just think with all of that said, and obviously more will be revealed in the coming hours and the coming days too, but I just feel like it's probably points, like you said there, to the factions with the Democrats at the moment. They don't know which way to go. So you've got the extreme left flank of the Democrats, and then you've got the other flank of the Democrats at the moment at war because they don't really know how to take on Donald Trump's policies and the rise of the Republicans. And it wasn't that long ago, James, was it, that we had the election and it just pointed to a landslide win for the Republicans. So again, it just points to the Democrats being all at sea. But you know what's been interesting over the past couple of days or so? I mean, people are pointing now towards, with this story here in California, people are pointing towards Gavin Newsom. And his term runs out next year, his second term. And I think it's fairly obvious that he's readying himself for another charge of the presidency in 3 years from now, because he's been trying to move his position more to the centre from that progressive flank of the Democrats by having a podcast and talking to more, right-wing figures and taking more conservative stances on social issues. I'm pretty sure he's getting himself ready for a run to possibly try and lead the Democrats.
Pete, what are we expecting for the rest of the day? Obviously, it's the military parade. It's also Donald Trump's birthday. So big crowds expected. Are we expecting any trouble?
They hope not. But this is how things emerge. Like, it starts out peaceful. And I got to say, there was a huge crowd, probably more than anyone expected, at this particular protest today, the No Kings protest, which is an odd term in itself because, as Donald Trump pointed out this week, he's not a king, he's a president. But, I mean, there are police around, but they're just heavily outnumbered. And I have to say that police have... so I won't even try and get over the top of that at the moment. So that's part of what's going on at the moment. So it's pretty noisy stuff. But I've got to tell you, the police have been fairly compliant with these protesters today. They've allowed a lot to go on. But there will come a point when a lot of people here have got to be cleared out because curfew will still be in place in a couple of hours' time. So things could change then.
Pete Stefanovic, thank you so much for your time.